Live from Quito, Ecuador, I'm Sunny Gray and this is From the South, the evening news brief from Telesur English. We start this new edition right now. The Cuban Foreign Minister, Bruno Rodriguez, has again denied the existence of alleged sonic attacks against U.S. diplomats who suffered health problems in Havana. At a press conference in Washington, he dismissed the hypothesis that the acoustic attacks caused the health issues reported. He said there was not a single piece of evidence for such a thing and that the theory was a malicious lie designed to damage Cuba-U.S. diplomatic relations.
There is no evidence. There is no evidence whatsoever of the occurrence of the alleged incidents or the cause and the origin of these ailments reported by U.S. diplomats and their relatives. Neither is there any evidence suggesting that these health problems has been caused by an attack or any sort during their stay in Cuba.
And in Venezuela, the Socialist Party and its allies have been presenting their candidates for December's local elections. President Nicolas Maduro has proposed that the National Electoral Council should suspend the registration of those parties that might try to sabotage the mayoral elections. Our correspondent Reagan Devines joins us now live from Caracas. Hello, Reagan. So how is Venezuela's opposition responding to the possibility that they may be sanctioned for their behavior?
Well, they're being defiant, of course, as per usual, as normally is the case. They have gone on live on Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, denouncing any action or words by the Maduro government in terms of their rights, in terms of any democratic means that they would take to not partake in the elections. Now, it's interesting because Voluntad Popular, one of the most popular parties that make up the MUD coalition, their leader, Fethiye Guevara, has been threatening members of the MUD coalition to not take part in the upcoming municipal elections or risk being thrown out of the coalition. I'm not too sure if these threats have prompted what has been happening today, which is that for example, the Minister of Communication, Ernesto Villegas, said that he has noticed that some opposition members have been registering in the municipal elections, but not using the names of their parties. They've been using the names of an independent party, COPEI, and so he used that example to denounce the opposition's so-called attack on the upcoming municipal elections. And so they have continued to denounce what they say is a lack of democracy in Venezuela. There is no means to express their desire to not partake in the elections. They believe that the elections are rigged, are fraud. They've been sharing through social media today photographs or what they call proof of the fraud in the elections in states where they said the vote count doesn't add up to what the CNE has reported. And so they've been quite defiant today, Sonia, and this afternoon at midnight tonight is when registration for the elections come to an end. Tomorrow the CNE will either approve or reject those registrations, Sonia.
Okay, so thanks for that update. That's our Reagan Devines in our Caracas office. Guyana's opposition took placards and chanted during President David Granger's address at the opening of Parliament. As President Granger gave an account of his government's performance and listed their plans, the opposition shouted him down. Opposition leader Barak Jagdeo said the president had been engaging in polarizing action by, among other things, rejecting their 18 suggestions for the chairman of the Elections Commission. Granger persevered with his speech despite the interruptions and addressed Guyana's diplomatic engagements with Venezuela over border disputes.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs has met the United Nations Secretary General's personal representative on several occasions. We are engaged at present in a renewed good offices process. We are confident that the common commitment of the government and opposition will eventuate in strong national support for a juridical settlement of this controversy, a controversy which has impaired the development of our nation.
The French NGO Electricians Without Borders, or ESF, is in Dominica to help restore electricity to the island. Coordinator Catherine Bouguet explained that they arrived with a team of 3 people, including 2 engineers and 55 generators, to help re-establish power in the island's schools and health centers that were damaged by Hurricane Maria.
On 55 generators, in 2 weeks, we have installed 37 generators. So about 20 in the health center, more or less 10 in schools, primary school. Tomorrow we will install generator in Goodwill Secondary School because they will try to open the sewing classroom on Monday. So we will work tomorrow for the Independence Day. And we install 6 generators in collective shelters. So we have worked in less than 3 weeks a lot.
More news in a minute. Stay with us. Now for another of our special reports from the Mapuche territory in the south of Chile. Our correspondents Paola Dragnich and Juan Pablo Areneda look at the community's fight to recover their land.
This time we traveled through the Leuleu riverbank toward the Nahuelbuta Cordillera, a protected nature reserve that today is being used by logging companies despite being a national park and an ancestral territory. The Mapuche resistance is standing up against these companies little by little.
Ever since we fought for our land, we designed this strategy of territorial control by occupying and rebuilding our Mapuche identity and a world in every space we recover.
We are close to a part of the territory where the Mapuche organization Arauco Mayeco already controls almost 30% of the land.
This fight has taken us to prison and it has generated repression. We are being monitored and watched in our own territory.
Ernesto, who has just reached 20 years old, has already been jailed twice.
I was raised as a boy going to jail to see my father, Ramon. I went to court hearings and lived through police raids. At the end, this doesn't generate fear, but resentment. There is nothing else for us to do except face the political repression.
Despite being persecuted for 2 decades, Ramon Yanquileo continues his fight to get his land back.
You have to look around you and understand that all of this land is ours. It belongs to us. So what we decided to do is to cut the fences and enter our land, occupying every space little by little. All of what is currently in the hands of the logging companies.
This is a fight that comes with a high price, but it also gives the Mapuche a purpose.
We as a community understand that this is not easy. We are constantly under the threats of the state. If we don't respect private property, we know we will go to jail or be persecuted. We hold on because we know we are right and the truth is on our side. That's what feeds our fight and what pushes us to resist.
And this is all because they hope to rebuild their identity and reclaim their territory.
To those who are numb because of capitalism, we are making that call. We can overcome jail with our militants and our struggle.
It is the road to a dignified life that the Mapuche have inherited from their warriors' ancestors.
More than 3 million people are expected to vote in Nicaragua on the 5th of November in the elections taking place in 153 municipalities around the country. The Supreme Electoral Council announced that all of the political parties set to participate are now fully accredited to be part of this process. Nicaragua's President Daniel Ortega said that these elections will strengthen peace, security, and stability in the country. Citizens will choose mayors, deputy mayors, and municipal council members. And our correspondent, Maria Jose Diaz, is in Nicaragua, and she has the details.
The period of electoral silence has officially begun, a 72-hour stretch that precedes the mayoral elections on November 5th, when 8 political parties, including the South Caribbean coast, will vie for 153 mayoral positions in the country. Furthermore, international observers have arrived. They will take part in the upcoming elections. Everything proceeded with relative calm. Today, we are celebrating the Day of the Dead, and the government has declared it a holiday for the public sector employees. Starting tomorrow, things will go back to normal. This is the current environment. We must now wait for the results of the election. This is all for now. We will keep you updated.
That was Maria Jose Diaz with that report. Public sector workers in Peru have marched on the Ministry of Economy and Finance as a national strike, demanding improved conditions enters its 15th day.
Thank you so much. We're indeed here, where it has been 15 days of the indefinite strike of the administrative workers from different sectors, like those from universities and the Education Ministry. They are requesting minimal things, such as an increase of salaries and different contracts, because many of them are without structures or work stability, or other benefits that all workers should have. Today, we are marching to the Ministry of Economy and Finance, and we are with one of the leaders, Mr. Bernardo Melendez. Tell us more about this week.
We're on an indefinite national strike. The State Union, ATE, FENTUFE, UNTASE, the employees of all the armed forces, all state sector have been on national strike for 15 days, asking the government the increase of our salaries, of the unified bonus, also the law of collective contracts, the formal contracts of thousands of workers, for them to be able to have a position. We're also fighting for our service contracted brothers, which are the most abandoned ones, and who are being fired at the end of every year. That's why we're asking the central government, to President Kuczynski, to help our partners to be properly contracted, and for the law of collective contracts to be promoted.
Nombre de una vez a todos los compañeros y también se haga la ley de negociación colectiva.
Have you had any response from the government?
Hasta ahora lo único que nos han atendido.
So far, the only ones that have received us are officials of a lower level who don't make any decisions. We want to see the economy minister, the economy vice minister, the president of the ministry council. That's why we keep radicalizing this indefinite national strike, because we, the state workers, are organized.
How do you see the government of Kuczynski with the workers?
We've been seeing that Kuczynski only governs for the multinationals, applying this disastrous neoliberal economic model, and he doesn't even talk about the workers in any of his projects. That's why we're here on the indefinite national strike.
Por eso estamos en esta huelga nacional indefinida. Compañeros, ¡viva la huelga nacional!
This is the information we have so far. We go back to you. We'll come back with more details on what this indefinite strike means from the administrative workers, but we go back to you.
So that was Jaime Herrera in Lima, Peru. More than 200 women dressed as Catrinas, a traditional icon of the Day of the Dead, marched in Mexico City to protest against femicides and violence against women. Family members of femicide victims and feminist organizations demanded that the Mexican state protect women around the country. They also asked that every victim to be identified, along with the investigation of every case registered. Not one more, and it was not a suicide, it was a femicide, were some of the chants heard during the march that took the streets of Mexico City during the Day of the Dead.
We have nothing to celebrate. We still have victims not only in the city, but all around the country. It is very important for us to bring awareness and talk about gender violence. This way, we can fight the problem. We can try to change what's happening. Today, we want to talk about our victims of gender violence.
So as you've just seen, Mexico is celebrating one of its most popular traditions, known as the Day of the Dead. Our correspondent, Eduardo Martinez, has more from Mexico City.
The Day of the Dead is one of the most iconic traditions of Mexican culture. According to popular belief, the dead go back to their home to visit family members. Their loved ones are waiting for them with different offerings, food, and their belongings too. This year, the Day of the Dead takes on a special significance after several earthquakes shook the country in September, leaving 96 victims in Chiapas and Oaxaca, and 369 victims after the earthquake with the epicenter in Morelos state. People are gathering today at the cemeteries around the country to honor their loved ones.
And in Bolivia, on the 1st of November, the souls of the dead were received with joy, along with a lot of food and drink. This is an annual tradition that sees Bolivians honor their loved ones for 24 hours. More details in the next report.
Music, dance, fruit, food, drink, and plenty of figures made of bread. This is the party to receive the souls of the dead, where once a year, at noon on the 1st of November, Bolivians come to spend time with their loved ones.
It is a welcome that is given to the dead before they go back to Ayamarla, which is the world of the dead. For them to return happy, and for them to be happy because we are happy, the time between today and tomorrow is called Amay Pacha.
This is not only for family members, but also for those who are gone and who nobody remembers. This is a special day in which your loved ones come back. You can imagine the context of having to wait for those who are gone.
Every year, the Foreign Ministry organizes these tables which will receive the deceased, and the diplomatic officials take part in this Aymara ceremony for the dead.
The value of our ancient culture is that they have always honored the ancestors, recognizing that we are their legacy, we are their descendants, so we can go back to the beginning of time, to the beginning of life.
In the Aymara world, death doesn't exist. It's a journey of the spirit to another dimension that once a year opens its doors for a long trip. That's why they give them food and drink to relieve their exhaustion.
We make a plate of food because our dead come to eat. They drink their corn chicha, their beer if our dead liked it, sweets, cookies, alfajores, or empanadas that our dead liked.
In private homes, town squares and cemeteries, tables are arranged with the tanta wawa, or bread baked in the shape of a child, which represents the dead. There's also the tradition of the disappeared tables, organized by the families of victims of the dictatorship.
We also try to pay tribute to our founding mothers. There's several of the mothers that founded the association 40 years ago and who died without knowing the truth and what happened to their children.
At noon on the 2nd of November, the souls return to the Valley of the Dead. They're sent off with the music that they enjoyed while they were alive, and an abundance of food, bread and fruit left over from the visit, which is given away to the people who come to pray for their returning dead.
As we continue with our look at how various cultures honor those who have died, we head to Haiti for Fethiye, which is celebrated at the start of November.
Fethiye is the Haitian celebration of their ancestors. On Wednesday, Haitians convened in cemeteries to honor their deceased loved ones. These people, gathered in the National Cemetery of Port-au-Prince, are using food and drink to perhaps persuade them to return for a visit.
We're here today to celebrate the spirits in the cemetery.
The celebrations are similar to the Catholic All Souls and the Latin American Day of the Dead celebrations, but Fethiye is decidedly African in origin and execution. The visits typically take place on November 1st and 2nd.
We ask for luck, liberty, and long life from the death. We ask for all the good things from the spirits. And right now, each child from a home offers a fruit to the spirits to thank them. That is why you see fruits here. The more fruits we offer, the more hope, victory, and love we have.
The festival gets its name from Papa Gede, the first man to have died. He is now the spirit that guides souls into the afterlife. So honor must be made to him, Baron Samedi, and then to the ancestors. Voodoo came to Haiti when the first enslaved Africans arrived on the island. It has remained and thrived, and is an essential part of life in Haiti.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. A Spanish court has jailed 8 members of the dismissed Catalan government. It also issued an arrest warrant for Carles Puigdemont, the Catalan president, who's now in Belgium. Earlier, 9 members of the Catalan cabinet went voluntarily for questioning at 2 courts in Madrid. A judge ordered all but one of them to be detained. He also requested a European arrest warrant for Puigdemont and 4 other members of his regional government who are out of the country.
Do not forget that President Puigdemont and the members of the Catalan government, as well as the members of the Parliament's office, are in a completely unfair situation. They are being accused of rebellion, of sedition, when all this has no basis. He knows this perfectly well, as does anyone who has a minimum knowledge of the law knows it. Rebellion means violence, and here the only ones who use violence is the state.
Hundreds of pro-independence supporters have been protesting outside the Catalan government headquarters in Barcelona. They demanded the release of 2 other jailed independence leaders and demanded that Madrid respect the wishes of the Catalan people.
I'm very optimistic, and I believe that faith can move mountains. They won't stop our independence. It might take 1 year to achieve it. The more they do against independence, the more pro-independence people will become, and the more we will vote.
They know that all the polls and the last elections show that the majority of people now want to vote for independence. So what they are trying to do is make people tired so that they won't vote on December 21, when we are going to vote for the Republic.
Russia, Iran and Azerbaijan have been meeting at a 3-way summit with the situation in Syria high up on their agenda. Our correspondent in Moscow, Hansel Oro, sent this report.
During the summit between Russia, Azerbaijan and Iran, the 3 countries agreed to work together to increase the commercial and economic links between their governments. Another issue discussed during the meeting was the security in the region. In that sense, Russia and Iran recognized the importance of previous meetings, where the goal then was to find beneficial solutions between the Syrian government and the Syrian opposition. In terms of economic agreements, the nations approved the creation of a new maritime connection from the Iranian port of Bandar Abbas to Helsinki, Finland. The purpose would be to connect Asia and Europe. They also approved the building of a railway network from Iran to Azerbaijan, which would be extended to over 170 kilometers, and it would be built with the participation of Russian companies. In terms of energy agreements, they decided to increase the oil drilling projects in the Caspian Sea. Also, the 3 countries agreed to trade in their national currencies as an alternative to avoid the US dollar. It's important to remember that the commercial exchange between Russia and Azerbaijan during 2016 reached over $1.9 billion. and also the exchange between Iran and Russia was increased by 70%, reaching $2.2 billion. All of these economic policies are being developed to avoid the pressure from the world's powers like the European Union and the United States.
Israeli occupation military forces in the West Bank have attacked a group of Palestinian protesters with tear gas bombs on the 100th anniversary of the Balfour Declaration. The protesters showed pictures of the former British Prime Minister Arthur Balfour and then burned the Israeli flag in rejection of the 1917 document that first declared support for a Jewish state on Palestinian land.
We have walked in penance to express our sorrow for the 100 years of suffering, dispossession, injustice and conflict which the Balfour Declaration has brought to Palestinian people.
British artist Banksy threw a mock party in Bethlehem outside his hotel in the occupied West Bank to mark the 100th year of the Balfour Declaration on Wednesday. The event was an apology for Britain's move to support the creation of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Banksy hosted 50 Palestinian children at the party with cake, balloons and a surprise appearance by an actor playing the Queen of England. Protests against the declaration have taken place in Ramallah, Bethlehem, Yemen and South Africa, with more expected over the coming days, including in London.
The message is that the British government should apologize for the Palestinians instead of celebrating the Balfour Declaration this year for what this declaration caused, and not only for on the Palestinians but in all of the Middle East.
And we've come to the end of this evening's news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website, telesyourtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for Tell Us Your English. I'm Soini Gray. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow.